and welcome to the Newton Sports Club podcast, a new podcast dedicated to the teams, players, coaches, staff and members of Newton Sports Club. Each episode we will follow the cricket, rugby, tennis and football teams, including pre- and post-match interviews, results, upcoming fixtures and specially featured interviews from players, coaches and supporters alike. But this podcast isn't just about the players, it's about the supporters, members and customers of Newton Sports Club, and we will invite all of our listeners to join in on the pod each and every episode. So, wherever you're listening, sit back and let's get into the episode. Hi and welcome to episode 4 part 2. So as I said in part 1, we had to split this because Friday night was just an amazing night down at the sports club. Far too many interviews just to put into the one episode. And part 1 I wanted to dedicate to Newton Storm because the under 11 boys, they really come on and gave it some there. But in this episode, I've got a range of interviews here. I've got James from the Rugby Union team. I've got Malarkey, who were performing on the night. It was an absolutely amazing night, a great band and a funny interview. They run me ragged, to be fair, so fair play to the boys there. I also got an interview with Mr. Walkenden, current 19-year-old cricketer, playing in the first team, a real family heritage there, as well as I managed to get Paul, the chairman of the Rugby Union team, on as well, because it was their presentation night on Friday night, so it was a real vibe down at the club. And we had a real good giggle, and the drinks were most definitely flowing. Now, you will hear in the background at times on some of these interviews, you will hear glasses clunking, you will hear some booze, but you'll hear the band, and if you can make it out, they play some amazing tracks. I don't know if it'll come through on this, but it was a privilege to listen to Malarkey down there. But my first guest on the pod on Friday, on part 2, was James, and he'd come on before, but James is a teacher, he's a current player for the Rugby Union team, and what a guy, and he speaks so well, and you can just tell the passion that he has for his sport and what he does. So sit back and enjoy this interview. It's an amazing one. Okay, welcome James again to the pod. How you doing? You well?
Yeah, good, thank you. And yourself?
Very well, thank you, very well. James, we're here tonight, the Union Boys presentation night. Everybody looks really dapper.
We do, to be honest. I mean, everyone's scrubbed out quite well, everyone's kind of got their best shirts out, and those club ties have reappeared for one more year.
It looks really good, and the waft of aftershave is really quite overwhelming, so it's quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a term I would use, but maybe not on this podcast.
Yeah, I get you, and I suppose it's a little bit different to the typical changing room aroma you're used to on a Sunday evening.
Certainly after a full game anyway, especially through the winter season.
Brilliant. So, look, end of season, it's one of those where it's a night to come together, remember the season that you've just had. What are your top highlights this season, would you say?
I think for me, top highlights is at the start, before we joined this new league, we was umming and ahhing, wondering whether or not it was going to be the right decision. Now we're at the back end of it, we've ended up 5th in the table, so for me as that coach, respectable to the other players, it was the right decision. But some major highlights for me from the players, some really young players come through the ranks this season, learnt game by game, developed the skill set and really applied it on the field. In terms of kind of games themselves, we beat top of the table, one of only 2 clubs to do that this season.
Amazing.
Which, is really, really good.
And so I suppose reflection on the season is one of those. So you beat the top of the table. Home games, formidable at home this season?
Yeah, we've done really, really well. I mean, we've only actually lost 2 home games this season. One of them was a fair and square one where we lost it on the day to a team that's finished above us in the table. The other one was just kind of that little bit we were struggling at that wrong time of the season. But all in all, it's been a bit of a fortress at home, and the lads get stuck in, lots of positives, and it's been lovely to see some rugby union being displayed out there on the field. So.
No, brilliant, and especially in this part of the world. So you can tell by the accent I'm more accustomed to rugby union and rugby league, and it's massive up here. But it's really nice to see, and I'm sure the listeners can hear the buzz around the club at the moment, because the pints are starting to flow a little bit. But it's really good that rugby union is presented in this way.
Yeah, and I think so, and I think definitely on a map is Newton in terms of the heritage. And I've only been here a few years myself, but previously you speak to the old boys, you speak to the people that are down tonight, and you get all the stories of once upon a time where the dial-up phone came in, the players had to rush into the clubhouse to find what name was up on the board. They had 4 teams, running every week. So for us to kind of stick here in a hard time at the moment, in a very, kind of difficult period where the league has overtaken slightly in these areas, is really promising. And that's all we want to do. We want to rebuild as a club, get those youth players in. We're starting the ball rolling with a few people to help us in that setup. And I think, that's the positive future that we can hold, really.
Absolutely, and if I look at rugby union right now, England going okay, not quite at the levels they once were. The French are right up there, the Irish are right up there. But in terms of the local game, how's it developing, and what's the future at the moment?
Yeah, I think the biggest future for me, looking around kind of the local derbies that we play, is that you're really seeing the youth sections coming through. A couple of games been on the receiving end and the positive end of it, and those younger players who kind of are learning that trade, learning that skill, they just put it into practice, and it takes a little bit of flair sometimes, and we've had those moments and magic moments in game to season, but it's just trying to make sure we get that, the basic level of rugby, and that's what I always, reiterate as a coach. Basics win games, and I think that's what we're going to get back to. Really old school basics, win the rucks, win the line-outs, win the scrums, and then we'll dominate the rest.
Brilliant. So it sounds like the game of rugby union in the Northwest is in healthy hands at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, and I think, looking around all the other kind of open age teams, everyone I've spoken to before and after the games have been really positive about this league. We're all first team kind of representatives, and actually, like, looking at it, it gives us something to really look forward to next season. We know where we are now, we know what we can achieve, being the top of the table. So for me, the only way is up. Just the hard work will continue in a few weeks' time after the bigs.
Brilliant. And did I hear earlier a little snippet that maybe there was a trip to Benidorm for some of the lads recently?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately myself, I didn't get to attend just within my job, personally, but a few of them have just started to divulge some of the minor secrets of, but what stays on tour unfortunately stays on tour. So
you can't disclose it, even though you weren't there. You must have heard something that you can disclose, just one or two little bits that you can stitch one of the lads up with, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the only little bits I can know already is kind of, they struggled on the last day to get home. It was a little bit of one of those that, they had to get reorganised very quickly, and I suppose after a few days having a good time would have been one of those panic moments setting in.
That's a really tame story, but very politically put there, James. So I'm sure your teammates will respect that, and even if we don't, and I'm sure as the beers flow, I'm determined to get some of those stories out for the pod. I might have to tick the explicit nature box when this episode goes out, maybe, but let's see what we can get.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure you get a few, give it another hour or so, you'll definitely open those horizons.
Brilliant. Well, James, look, thank you very much. Enjoy the night tonight. Everybody looks amazing, including yourself, and good luck for next season.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Cheers,
for your
James.
time. Thank you.
Do you love the club? Are you a member, player or a fan? Visit our website nlwsports.co.uk for everything Newton the Willows Sports Club. Keep up to date with the latest news and progress of all of our sports teams, as well as what's going on at the club. nlwsports.co.uk.
Well, what an absolute interview there from James. He spoke so well, so passionately about rugby, what it means to him and how well he's been doing. And like he said, he's only been at the club 4 years, which is quite a short time by recent standards. So a lot of the guys we speak to have been in and around the club for many a year. But, no lack of passion and respect for the club all the same. Well done, James, and thank you so much. You're the first one to come up on Friday night to give us an interview. Absolute star, and just chilled out. And you'll hear later on there's some news to come from James. I'm not going to spoil it right now, but you've got to stay tuned in to the pod, to this episode. And when we get Paul, the chairman, on, you'll hear a little bit later. He refers to James, and some really, really, really pleasing news for James. Now, not only at the club did we get the players on, not only did we get some coaches on Friday night, but I was really lucky to get the band that were playing, Malarkey. 4 guys from the local area. Most of them have been there, seen it, done it for, I think they said 24 years they've been together, apart from one of the newer guys. And they were an absolute delight to have on. They were really, really funny. That banter was all over the place. It was brilliant. And they kept me on my toes. And for someone that doesn't do this, professionally or anything like that. So to have these 4 guys that are really on form, and you can tell this weren't the first time they've done anything like this. But it was a real honour to have them on, and we had a real giggle. And you'll hear that in the next interview. But what I can't get across enough is that, I know I said it in the intro, but I heard them all, for the evening that I was there, and they sounded absolutely amazing. You couldn't tell that they weren't the real artists. A real range of music that was going on, and I know the lads absolutely loved it, and they're known to the guys around here as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So I think they've done the 4th or 5th presentation awards evening. They play in the local area, and a lot of the guys go and listen to them. So sit back, listen to this interview. It's an absolute storm, I promise you. It's brilliant, and I absolutely loved interviewing these boys.
Right, I'm down at Newton Sports Club, and I'm delighted to join a band, and they're nothing to do with sport whatsoever, but Malarkey. Welcome, gents. How are you doing?
We're all right. We've not said you've joined yet, though.
I've got in front of me a bunch of comedians that also play music, and this is going to be a real tough interview on me. And if it gets tough, then I can make it tough for them as well. I'm sure, probably not, but let's go with. So I have got. Let's just make sure we got Nick, we got Steve, we got Chris and James. Did I get that right?
That's right. Yes.
We started right. So gents, tell us a bit about yourselves. What type of music you play? How long you've been together? Go for it.
We've been together 24 years. All from Newton RugbyUnion.
Not married?
Not married?
Not married, no.
No.
So you live in Sin?
Yes.
Okay.
We play a lot of... Hillstown's not Sin. You can't say that on a podcast. We have been together 24 years. We play all sorts really. Kings of Leon, Beatles, Stereophonics, bit of Wham every now and again.
Oh, there's a fan in the background.
Yeah, we do
There's a Wham fan.
So, we play all sorts really.
Ah, brilliant.
Yeah.
And you're here tonight because the Rugby Union boys, I've got to be careful because if I don't differentiate those codes, I get in all sorts of trouble here. So the Rugby Union guys, they've got their presentation awards tonight, and they've asked you to come along and perform for them.
Yeah, it's probably our, 5th year?
Yeah. Obviously before COVID we did a few, didn't we?
Yeah.
This is the first one after COVID.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know we were playing here until last week.
Oh, there you go.
I knew we had a gig.
Yeah.
No, it was right corner from the house.
Did we not tell you? All right. Okay.
Do you get left out often, or is it just once off?
Just,
It's
don't
because he's
really
new.
pay
It's
attention.
because he's new, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's not, he doesn't get left out. He's just very lapsy-daisy.
It's just that Steve usually just takes me to and from gigs, so I don't need to worry about the destination. It's all about the journey.
Yeah.
But you've got 23 and a half years worth of making up to do, to get into that. Yeah. So, good luck on that one. So tonight, looking forward to the awards ceremony and what you're going to perform for the boys and girls out there tonight.
Yeah, good. I think it's always a good night. Isn't it?
It's always a good crowd, isn't it?
Yeah. To be fair, when we play it like the Oak Tree and the Griffin, these lot come and watch us anyway. And it normally turns into... There's that time we played at the Oak Tree where they had to set off the fire alarm.
Yeah, they always end up half naked with the ties around
these
their
lot
edge usually,
were half
don't they?
naked. So the Oak Tree set off the fire alarm. Or the fire alarm got set off. I can't remember whether they did it on purpose or not. But anyway. But yeah, they come and watch us a bit, so...
Brilliant. So you're familiar with a lot of the players and those that are here tonight as well. And when you play, is it predominantly in the local area? Do you go further afield? What's that geography like?
Generally, we do the Griffin regular.